What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Flash, Season 3, Episode 15, The Wrath of Savitar. And just like the title of this episode entails, holy crap, this was intense! It's really kind of funny just because Monday nights are now a lot smaller as far as my schedule goes for TV shows. It goes straight from Supergirl to The Flash. And so you've got two CW shows, and you got one that just can't tell a good story to save its life. And then you get to the next one, and it's just like I'm sitting on the edge of my seat on almost every episode now because it's so good. So I love the fact that I just get to go, oh, Supergirl was awful, oh, but the Flash, and that was good. So we have ultimately, like the title says, the Wrath of Savitar. We saw at the end of last episode, Savitar appears to Wally, and it's just like, what does that mean? Well, we start off this episode with Wally and Jesse and Barry kind of racing through the city. Barry has Jesse, like Savitar has Iris in the future, and Wally has to get from point A to point B fast enough to save Iris's life in the future. Ultimately, he does. But then he looks over on the building, and Savitar's standing there, he blinks, and he's gone. So it's just kind of like, okay, what's going on? Well, we keep going a little bit forward. We see Savitar is tormenting Wally, but only Wally can see him. So almost like what was going on with Cisco, what was going on with Julian, just these people and beings appearing to him, but nobody else can see him. So I'm kind of like, okay, so Savitar is clearly like doing something to Wally. He's kind of coaxing him along in the right direction, right? That's where this is going. And ultimately it is, but not quite what I was expecting. So it is a question, though, that the team's trying to answer. How come Savitar is still appearing to Wally? So they call Savitar again using Julian as the phone, almost. But they hook Julian up to the machine that lets Savitar speak through him. And Savitar just keeps... It's like he's just tormenting everybody by talking to him. And honestly, I feel like it's gonna be somebody we know, just because the way he's talking to everybody makes it sound like he knows them personally. He's talking to Joe, and he's talking to Cisco, and he's talking to everybody in the group. It sounds like he knows them personally. And of course, we see at the end with the fight, Barry tries to take off his mask but can't. So I feel like that's going to be a reveal we'll have in the next few episodes to find out who it is that that Barry's been fighting this whole time. Because the whole time I was wondering if Savitar was actually like I don't know, a being of the Speed Force or something like that. But it's starting to feel like maybe he is just a human who is also a speedster. So, I don't know, that kind of takes a little bit of the mysticism out of him. Like before when it's like, ooh, the god of speed, that's intense. Now it's just like, oh, it's just a man that's really, really fast. Not as intense. But he was trapped by Barry in the future, so that is a bit interesting. But we come to find out a lot in this episode because I don't know, a lot has been going on, and some of it has just felt like meaningless. Some of it's felt like, oh, it's just something the characters are going through. But we're starting to learn a bit more. So, one of the questions was, who's the traitor? Who's the one that betrays everybody? I don't know if this is what Savitar was talking about, but we find out that apparently Caitlin kept a part of the Philosopher's Stone. So, yeah, that's a thing, and apparently it's actually a good thing that she kept it, because if they had thrown it in with the rest of the stone, he would have had the entire thing, Savitar, and would have been able to escape. Except he wouldn't have had a speedster to do it at the time, so that would be the only thing that he wouldn't have been able to get out still, even with the entire Philosopher's Stone. So the fact that Wally had to throw it in, that was part of his plan, but we do see that that's what he needed. He needed the entire stone, and Caitlin kept it without telling anybody. On top of that, we also see that Barry, in trying to change the future, Wally went to the future to see what happens, and he sees Iris's hand, no ring. And so his thought is, oh, so Barry saw that and proposed to her, and of course that is what Barry's trying to do. He's trying to change the future again. However, we see in doing that, and in Iris finding out, the episode ultimately ends with her with no ring on her finger. So we see that Barry, in trying to change the future, ultimately still really isn't changing anything. There was still an attack from some guerrillas. Obviously, there wasn't a full-out attack, but the guerrillas still attacked. We also see that, Iris doesn't have a ring on her finger. Killer Frost still may possibly come into existence. So, yeah, it feels like even though there's been some change, it feels like. Ultimately, I wonder if there's really not been any change at all. So yeah, kind of curious to see what's gonna happen next. But it was kind of sad though to see Barry and Iris go through this, and knowing that Iris really does have a good reason for taking the ring off. You know, she talked to him. It's like I feel like that it's tainted our relationship now, our marriage, in that you did this out of fear. You didn't do it because you love me, even though you do. You did it because you were scared of what might happen in the future. And she doesn't want the relationship to be built on that. So it does make sense. You know, it's not like she just said, "Oh, I can't believe you lied to me." That would have been really dumb. And honestly, that's what I would expect in a show like Supergirl. But in this show, they handle it very well. She does have a good reason for why she takes the ring off because of why he proposed. So, yeah, all in all, that part was handled very well. And it was kind of surprising to see that's why Barry asked her to move in. That's why Barry asked her to marry him. So, all of that's very interesting. So, all of that's going on. The stuff with Wally's going on. Savitar's tormenting him. He's fighting him first, and then all of a sudden we see a scene where he's with Jesse inside of his house, and all of a sudden his mom shows up, and she's just like, "You're never going to be fast enough to save Iris." And that's kind of where I started to realize, okay, now I know what's going on. Because if it would be one thing if Savitar was like, yes, you'll be fast enough, go ahead. And if he was kind of like letting him feel like, yeah, I'm going to be fast enough, then something would be weird. But the fact that he's trying to taunt him with his mom, of all people, saying, "You'll never be fast enough, Wally." I'm just like, he wants him to be fast enough, right? He wants him to open up the Speed Force and throw that little rock in. And that's ultimately what the team finds out in the very next scene. They realize that the stone has to be completed for Savitar to get out. And so Wally goes around, opens up the breach, throws it in, and then starts getting sucked into it. And Barry shows up just in time for him to see Wally. I don't even know what was really happening. It looked like the Speed Force was sort of tearing him apart, and then gets sucked into the Speed Force as Savitar comes out and says apparently he needed a speedster to take his place inside that prison that future Barry locked him in. And so we have ultimately a bit of a fight between Barry and Savitar. I'm kind of wondering though if now the fact that he's real, now the fact that he's actually there, before it felt like it was Savitar connected to the Speed Force, and so he felt unbeatable. In this final fight, we see he is a little bit less power than he was before. So I'm wondering if maybe the fact that he's actually out in the real world now, if that's actually going to hurt his chances against Barry, because I don't know, that just seems a bit. It seems like that's where they're going with it. I don't know. Maybe he just decided not to go full power in this episode because he wanted to taunt Barry a little bit. But it seems like he doesn't have as much power as he did whenever Barry was fighting him at first. So I feel like the fact that he's not connected to the Speed Force anymore, the fact that he's not inside the Speed Force anymore, means he's not going to have that ability that we saw where he just picked Barry up and was like running through the Speed Force and just like running from place to place very quickly. I wonder if that ability is gone, and now if he's going to be a little bit more human, as much as much of a human as a speedster can be. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff going forward that's just very interesting. I mean, first of all, just this story in general, just all of the setup, the fact that Wally's now trapped in the Speed Force, that itself is so much better than anything I've seen on the shows this season. Obviously Legends of Tomorrow's had its moments, but you really look at it, everybody's still fine, everybody's still kicking. They had one episode where it felt like, oh, somebody may die, but then bring them back to life. Supergirl, nothing bad ever happens on that show. Arrow had the Billy thing, but even then, now all of a sudden it feels like, that's in the past now. We're all done with that. So the Flash is like, it's taking chances. Wally's now trapped in the Speed Force, which means he's pretty much gone. Yeah, I imagine by the end of the season they'll find some sort of way to trap Savitar back in there and manage to get Wally out in the same process. Maybe. I don't know. I doubt that it's going to be that easy, but I don't feel like he's gone forever, but he is gone for right now. And on top of that, we see Savitar gets what he wants. He's winning right now. It felt like the team had him trapped. The team beat him, but he's clearly not beaten. Even with the whole tossing the Philosopher's Stone into the Speed Force, that ultimately is what Savitar wanted. We just got lucky because Caitlyn happened to keep a piece of the stone. That's the only reason why he didn't succeed at first. So just the fact that Savitar is smart enough to really just kind of get the team going exactly where he wants them to go, it's very, very well done. Just all of his plan is smart, it's clever, it's not something stupid, it's not something where like, oh, the heroes are always winning. No, it clearly he's letting them win at times, but it's all a part of his plan. It's all what he wants them to do. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying where it's going. Obviously, we see a lot of side stories with Joe and Iris and Wally being gone. We see side stories with Caitlyn and Julian and all the stuff there. Jessie is obviously going to be very heartbroken. Got to wonder what's going to happen with her. Uh, Going forward, I do wonder as we get closer. That scene with Iris is probably going to be near the end of the season, if I had to take a guess. Um, so yeah, I feel like it's going to start building to that. We're going to start seeing more and more how the future is or is not being affected, based on what Barry saw. But of course, we see that scene. We already saw HR was there with a gun of some sorts. Uh, Savitar did say, ironically, you're the only one that survives my wrath. So that's kind of interesting to see what happens there. But we saw him there with the gun, but we didn't see Jessie at all. So why isn't she there to help? We didn't see anybody else around. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen when we get to that scene. Is everything going to work out okay? Is nothing going to work out okay? I don't know. I don't know where this show is going, and that's one of the best things about it. Just the fact that this show managed to keep me guessing. I still don't know what's going to happen. I still don't know if they're going to be able to save Iris, or if they're not. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's really exciting though, and I really like what they're doing. I like pretty much all of it is really well done. Savitar looks freaking awesome now. Like before, he kind of looked like a CGI, very obviously CGI thing. Now he's looking a lot more realistic. I don't know if they actually put somebody in some sort of full metal body armor, but it really looked there. It looked like it was in the scene, so it looked a lot better in this episode. I hope that continues. But long story short, looking forward to the rest of this season. I hope you are too. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know, we can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Flash reviews, and I'll see you at the next one.